Hi, everyone. Happy Tuesday. It's so great to see all of you already here in the live chat. My name is Sophie Barron, founder and CEO of the Conversationalist. We are a global Gen Z community on a mission to unify the world. And we do this by amplifying Gen Z voices, breaking open echo chambers, and having conversations that matter. We're so excited to see so many of you here. Hi, everyone. Taylor, Shivanshi, Emma, Venkat, Dante, Alex, Andy, so many awesome faces. Thank you for being here tonight. We have such an awesome conversation planned as we honor the best and brightest in social impact. We are a Gen Z platform, as you know, and we wanted to do something special this year for the first time ever, which is honoring Gen Zers who are really at the forefront of using their voices for good. That's what we're all about, coming together to create a collective social good. And what better way to do that than having conversations surrounding social impact? So thank you all for being here tonight. And with our new list initiative, in addition to our Gen Zers in every category, we are honoring one celebrity in every category as well. And these celebrities are also people who are leading by example and using their voices for good. And tonight, we actually had a last minute change. Our distinguished celebrity for the evening, Neve Schulman, had a last minute filming conflict with his show on MTV called Catfish. But in classic social impact fashion, he is out there in the world doing so many awesome things. So he couldn't be here with us right now, but wishes he could be here and is so proud of our honorees. And hopefully we'll get to chat with him again in the future. He has really been leading the way for essentially creating impact through different impact streams. He does a lot of work in ensuring clean water. He works with a lot of animal charities. He promotes social good on all of his social media platforms and throughout his run on Dancing with the Stars this past season. And so we're excited to honor him and we hope to talk with him soon. But without further ado, the main attraction, which is what TC is all about, is our Gen Z community. So I am so excited to be introducing our honorees for the evening. And before I get started, I can't continue on before sharing one thing, and that is we would love to have you in our community. We not only talk about social impact and social good, but we talk about everything under the sun that matters to our generation and the world at large, meaning anything from mental health to body image, to politics, to racism, to coronavirus, politics, election, and more. Come join us. And tomorrow is a big day as it will be Inauguration Day for the US. And we're going to have a live chat all day long talking about all things inauguration and the new administration and how we can come together as a country to unify. So don't miss it. Join us, text this number below, or simply click the link in our bio on Instagram. It'll take you right there, and we will welcome you with open arms. So without further ado, I'm so excited to kick off our panel for tonight's Social Impact List honorees. I'm going to read every honoree one by one, bring them to the stage, and then stick around because we're going to have a conversation with all of the honorees at the end that we don't want you to miss. And something quickly that I would love to do before I bring on our first honoree is for everyone who's here with us in the live chat, and we're seeing so many awesome faces, I would love for everyone to maybe share someone who comes to mind who you think of who's making a profound social impact. We would love to put their name on the screen and just encourage that even beyond tonight's honorees, we're acknowledging social impact in a broader sense. So if there's anyone who comes to mind, shout them out in the comments and I'll try to bring their names up on stage. So here we go. Let's bring up our honorees, and thank you all so much again for being here with us tonight. So our first honoree is the founder of Muslims Matter, as well as a former member of our very own Conversationalist advisory board. As a student organizer and activist, she advocates for issues like gender equity, climate justice, and gun violence prevention. She began her activism when she noticed that there was a missing puzzle piece in the conversation revolving around equity and education at her boarding school. She began to lead discussions at her school about diversity and inclusion, and she uses her voice through poetry to highlight people's stories and the issues that she's passionate about. So without further ado, we are so excited to honor Fatimata Cham. Hi, Fatimata.
Hi.
How are you? Long time no see.
Yes, of course. How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. So wonderful to see you. I would love to ask you a question because clearly from that intro, you truly do it all, especially through your platform, Muslims Matter. And through your advocacy work, I would love to know what inspired you to create Muslims Matter in the first place, and what are some of the proudest moments that come to mind as you reflect back on your journey so far?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So in early 2019, a lot of my work was revolving around gender equity, gun violence prevention, and all of these. Every work that I've ever been a part of or still am a part of has stemmed from like my community, my identity, and growing up in a low-income neighborhood, I noticed a lot of things very early on at a young age, and that's kind of where my advocacy began and was rooted in. And so, like looking at the media and its constant like misinformation, stereotyping of Muslims globally, I felt like I needed a space and platform for a part of my Muslim identity and to spread awareness about some of the issues that Muslims are facing around the globe, and to debunk some of these stereotypes that people may have about Muslims. And I think creating Muslims Matter kind of shifted my perspective on like storytelling, and giving people spaces to tell their own stories. I think no one can tell someone else's story except for that individual, because it comes from a different place. You're like talking about your individual experiences. So I wanted to create a space where Muslims could share their stories and share why they began wearing their hijab, or where they're located in the world. I think one of the focus countries that I started with was Afghanistan, because going to a boarding school, I was exposed to people from all different backgrounds. And I met a friend named Amin, who I interviewed for Muslims Matter, and he talked about his experience living up in Afghanistan and having to transition to America. So I really just wanted to create a space for Muslims to talk about their stories. And in terms of my proudest moments, I think one of my proudest moments was definitely being a part of the Conversationalist, of course. I think it led to my development in like understanding communication and basically just conversations with people, and literally just learning how to connect with people from different backgrounds. I think that's like in my journey one of my proudest moments, but also I published a book, I think, early on in high school, and I learned a lot through that process in writing poetry, and using poetry to tell my story, but also tell the story of other people. It kind of like creates a space for, I guess, people to better understand different issues. So, yeah, I guess those would be my two proudest moments.
You're amazing. And I'm sure you have a long list of others. I think it's so powerful that you have created a space to amplify others' voices through storytelling, right? I'm such a believer that when we're able to finally put ourselves in other people's shoes and take a walk through their stories, we're able to better understand their opinions and perspectives. And I'm so grateful that you have created that platform for your Muslim community. And I would love to, continue to be a part of your work. And we love having you at TC.
Thank
you. Might I say your hijab in our TC blue also looks so beautiful tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here, and we will talk to you more in a bit.
Yes.
Thanks, Fatimata.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, so great to see her. She was really a part of TC from our earliest stages, and I'm so proud of how far she's come. All right, so next up for this evening, we have another phenomenal honoree. Our next honoree is an activist, author, and motivational speaker, and she is being honored for her work inspiring others to do small acts to create big change. She launched her blog, Call Me Hannah, when she was 9 years old. In November of 2017, she published a book called Momentous that same year when she interviewed Nobel Prize winner Malala. She was named as one of Bloomberg Businessweek's Ones to Watch in 2018, and we love that she is always open to having conversations with anyone and everyone, regardless of whether she agrees with them or not. And on top of all of her amazing activist work, we are so excited to honor such an accomplished young woman. So welcome to the stage, Hannah Alper. Hi, Hannah.
Oh, hi, how are you?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm good. This is so amazing. I love having conversations just like this, honoring and shining a light on young people creating change.
Me too. So it's so great to meet you. Also, happy belated birthday. Happy to have you with us. And obviously, Hannah, you have accomplished so much at such a young age. And I would love to know what compelled you to start your blog originally, and how do you hope to make an impact this year in 2021?
Yeah, so I started a blog when I was, as you said, I was 9 years old, and I had no idea what I wanted it to be about. And my mom told me that I can't write about myself, and my dad told me that I couldn't write about how much I love Justin Bieber. I was 9, not as much now. But I was thinking about what to write about, and they told me that I had to write about something that I was passionate about. And I had no idea what that word meant. It wasn't in my vocabulary at the time. But I was thinking about what I cared about, what mattered to me, what I loved. And the only thing that I knew at that point was that I loved animals. And I started learning about environmental issues and deforestation. And I became devastated, but I turned that devastation into motivation to do something. I was 9. I didn't think, I'm just one person. I'm only 9 years old. What can I do? I just started. So my blog was about originally the environment and the belief that I still believe now, that it's the little things that we can all do that add up to make a big difference, and that anyone can change the world, no matter how old you are, how young you are, how you live, anything. And then after that, it kind of just snowballed into so many other different issues, and obviously becoming more politically engaged and all that kind of stuff. And now in 2020, I've definitely shifted more to learning myself and also mental health, because I feel like now our mental health, especially as Generation Z, whatever you want to call it, has taken a toll. So I'm really focusing on self-care and learning and inspiring people to use their voice, even in a global pandemic, which is so possible. And I've been doing my own actions like food drives and different campaigns and all that kind of stuff. So just inspiring other people to do the same.
We love snaps at TC, so I'm giving you major snaps. Hannah, that's so awesome. I couldn't agree more, especially in a year that has caused us to focus so much on our physical health. It's such an important reminder to remember how important mental health and self-care are. So thank you so much for sharing your story, and excited to talk to you more soon.
Amazing. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Hannah. Talk to you in a bit. Bye. Wow. I mean, can anyone just shout out in the comments what you were doing at 9 years old? Because I was certainly not that accomplished. That is amazing. Hannah, thank you so much. And excited to keep introducing you to our honorees this evening. So our next honoree is a 17-year-old student and activist. Growing up in a town on the Wind River Reservation, she started to see the atrocities faced by Native women. She fights to eradicate violence against Native women and for those across Indian country to not become a statistic. She is outspoken when it comes to advocating and educating about domestic violence in Indigenous communities, and she would describe Gen Z in her own one word as fluid. So I am so excited to welcome the wonderful Jasmine Wildcat to the stage. Hi, Jasmine.
Hello.
Hello. It's so great to virtually meet you. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good as you can do in a pandemic.
That is such a real answer. I feel that. And I don't know if it was on purpose, but your headphones and your shirt are our brand colors, my two favorite colors. So you're rocking it. It's so great to virtually meet you. And I wanted to share with you, Jasmine, I'm tripping over my words because I'm so excited to talk to you. I really admire you for how you give a voice to the voiceless, and that's really seen through your advocacy work. And I would love to know a little bit more about your work and how you got started, and also how statistics of domestic violence have differed with Native women comparatively to other groups.
Yeah, for sure. So I really got started in this work when it became like, more um, sort of out there, when I realized that, you know, keeping up in the news, like, when I was around 10 years old, I think I was like 2013, I, helped with my family. We did our little, protest when VAWA, the Violence Against Women Act,
Yeah.
was um, trying to get passed. And that's when I really started learning about everything, and, how Native women are, disproportionately affected by, domestic violence. Because 4 out of 5 Native women will be victims of violence in their lifetime, and
Wow.
that's just crazy, even though we are less than 2% of the total population, we are over 2 times more likely than any other ethnicity to be victims of domestic violence. Um, and just on top of that, 3 of 5 women will become victims of sexual assault. So that means 1 in 3 of us will be raped in our lifetimes, compared to 1 in 5 of other ethnicities. And I've grown up with women all around me, and it's just crazy. And I have 3 other sisters, so the statistics are just mind-boggling. So our Indigenous women are also 10 times more likely to be murdered than anyone else. And these statistics are staggering. But it's my reality that I live in. I have my sisters, and I have a bunch of cousins, and even just my friends who are Native. So I would say that um, an everyday person,
I was about to ask you, like, what
yeah,
can you
moving on.
do?
I'm getting ahead of myself, so I guess you can.
I mean, Jasmine, first of all, thank you for sharing that. Those statistics are so important for us to open our eyes to, because that is a reality that a lot of us don't experience on a day-to-day basis. And I would love to know, moving forward, what can the everyday person do to step up and help you in that line of advocacy work?
Yeah, so an everyday person, can just help by listening, by educating themselves and just being aware. The MMIWG, the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls, movement. It's not something that's new. Our people have been crying out for help for a long time, and people are finally starting to take notice of how violence is impacting our Indigenous women and children. So if you see something, say something. Another thing to do is address cultural appropriation and mascots. That's a big issue. So once people see us more than a cartoon character, and stop portraying our women as polka hotties and the sexy Indian maidens, then we will finally truly be seen as equals, and not an entire population who is only here to represent your sports teams, or just to fill your fantasies. We have come a long way from the federal policies of kill the Indian, save the man, and it will take our entire nation to help break these cycles of colonization and violence to build a better future.
Wow, Jasmine, thank you for sharing that. Definitely, that's something we can all do, right? Like listening, calling something out, see something, say something, one of my favorite policies, and being a part of that collective action to dismantle those stereotypes and cultural appropriation. So thank you for sharing that important reminder with us. And I'm really inspired by all of your work. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Okay, we'll talk to you in a bit. Thank you so much, Jasmine. Bye. Wow, I am already learning so much from these incredible change makers, and I hope you are as well. Those 3 pieces of advice are going to stay with me. So thank you, Jasmine. And I would love to move on to our next honoree for the evening, the wonderful Ramaya Thomas. So our next honoree is the 16-year-old co-founder of We Spark Change, which is an organization that promotes youth activism. She is an activist against police brutality, racial injustice, and systemic issues, and she is driven at the end of the day by love. She lives by the quote, "My voice as my power," and we could not support that more. Ramaya has also been a part of our TC panels in the past, and we love having her in our community, and we're so excited to hear the power of your voice. So welcome to the stage, Ramaya. Hey, Ramaya.
Hi, how are you?
You. So good to see you. I love having you in all of our TC conversations. So welcome back. And really kudos to you for spearheading this incredible organization, We Spark Change, at such a young age. Never ceases to amaze me. Why did you help create We Spark Change in the first place? And how have the events of the past year affected your social impact efforts with We Spark Change?
Well, I helped create We Spark Change out of pure frustration, anger, sorrow, and the understanding of knowing that I could be doing more. I think oftentimes teens think that their voice can only be used in their private Snapchat stories or their private Instagram posts, but our voice is truly more than just using it in one specific place. And I wanted teens to know that their voice is valued and honored, similar to the space that the Conversationalist promotes. And I think it's extremely important by living by the quote, "Your voice is your power." The events of 2020 were pretty much the foundation for our organization. The events of police brutality, the events of mass incarceration, systematic and racial and institutional racism were pretty much the foundation for why we were so angry. I mean, understanding that there was much more we as a generation could be doing. I think it's really important to understand that we're the next generation up. And so it behooves us to sit back and do absolutely nothing and leave it to the hands of the people who are pretty much doing absolutely nothing right now. And so that was pretty much the foundation for why we created everything. And the feelings and the emotional basis that we have behind We Spark Change is love and understanding that this space is yours. It's completely teen ran. And so we want them to know this is space for them, and their voice is truly the most important factor here. Because oftentimes we think that sometimes we can be pushed down or pushed out by adult voices. And although they are important, and often it's completely important for teen voices to be valued as well. And that's specifically the space that We Spark Change promotes.
It's amazing. I mean, that's what we're all about. I share so many of your passions, right? Really creating that space for everyone to be heard by Gen Z for Gen Z. I love that that's what your platform is all about. So, Ramaya, thank you for creating that space, and excited to hear more of your perspectives later in the conversation. So thank you for being here. So great to see you again. Awesome. See you soon. All right. And just a reminder, if you're hearing something tonight that resonates with you, please read all about our honorees in the YouTube description, find their social media platforms, start supporting their work. Like Ramaya, go follow We Spark Change and get involved and let your voice be heard. So thank you again, Ramaya. Next up, we have an honoree who is an entrepreneur, youth coach, and keynote speaker. He co-founded the volunteer organization Pick Waste. He created the High Performing Student, delivered 2 TEDx talks, and is a board director of the Canadian Association of Professional Speakers. His mission is to provide his students with the hope, tools, and strategies they need to become servant leaders in their schools, businesses, teams, and in the lives of others. His advice to Gen Z is stand for something, and your voice will appear shortly thereafter. Those are some incredible words to live by. And without further ado, welcome Sam Dema. Hi, Sam. Oh no, you're on mute.
Sophie, what's up?
I mean, I'm so excited about your mic setup. Obviously, you're a professional speaker, so I can't wait to take some notes from you. Awesome. Sam, welcome to the stage.
Yeah, you gotta...
It's pretty remarkable how you're able to support and guide young people as a young person yourself. What are some of your personal goals as you continue to make this impact on other people's lives?
Absolutely. First of all, I just want to say great entrance for a speaker. I'm on mute. Terrible entrance. Anyways, if you guys are enjoying tonight's panel, do me a favor and drop a C in the chat box for the Conversationalist. Drop a C in the chat box. I need to see at least 50 C's before I answer this question. We even put the C back up here on the live stream. So please drop a C in the chat box. Secondly, I am super grateful to be included in this list of people. I'm blown away already by who's spoken and can't wait to hear everyone else speak. My own personal goals. One of my first biggest goals for 2021 is to align my actions with my values. I actually decided to take a year off social media. Aside from reading very important messages like DMs from you guys, I'm not really posting anything or engaging in any way, shape, or form. And that's because I set a goal to try and better understand different situations, life, myself, before going out and preaching it to other people. And so that was one big goal that I have for this year. A second goal, which aligns really closely with Hannah's, is to fill up my cup before I pour into others. I have tried to pour into others multiple times when my cup is nowhere near full. And what happens is, personally, I'll get a mouthful of like canker sores and I can't speak, I can't sleep, and it's just things don't work out. So if I'm not exercising, drinking water, taking care of my physical and mental health, I find that everything else falls apart. And thank you all for dropping the C's in the chat box. I'm seeing them all pop up now. This is awesome. Another personal goal that I had in the start of 2021 was to help at least 50 young people find their voice. And what that looked like for me was teaching them how to be better public speakers and identify some problems or issues or things that they might be passionate about speaking out on. And I do that through speaking at schools and other things. So those are some of my personal goals. I don't really want to talk too much more about myself, to be honest, but I'm enjoying this a lot. And I just want to thank you for all the work you do. And if you guys have done research on all of us, you better make sure you do research on Sophie as well. Thank you so much for having me here. I appreciate it.
I'm just like you, Sam. I do not want to talk about myself. So I could be here all night just shouting out all of your awesome achievements. So thank you for bringing your energy. You're getting so much love in the live chat. And so relatable what you just shared about self-care, right? Like we can't run on an empty tank. And that is such an important reminder that I'm trying to live by. So thank you for bringing it up tonight.
Anytime.
Awesome. Okay, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Sam. Wow, so awesome. I need a mic set up like that. Sam's energy is contagious. So happy he's here with us tonight. All right, next up, we have an honoree who is the co-founder and CEO of Nest for Us. She provides volunteer opportunities for people of all ages and backgrounds to give back to the community in a way that interests them. Their volunteer team aims to spread hope and love to each and every person they come across. As a kindness advocate, she stands up and steps up for those who feel most alone in the world and shows the community that you don't need to be a certain age or from a certain background to change the world. She describes Gen Z in one word as resilient, and we are so excited to learn more about her as she comes back to the TC stage. Welcome back, Shreya Venkat. Hey, Shreya.
Hey, Sophie. Thank you so much for having me here. I'm so excited to be back again here. The last panel, so amazing. And just thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you and to speak just about Gen Z and the power of youth.
Shreya, it's our honor. I mean, that Giving Tuesday panel, I was so inspired by you and your work, and we're so happy to have you back. Also, your background is iconic. I love the Blight Blue walls. So thank you so much for being here. And Shreya, not only are you making a difference, but you're really helping others make an impact as well. I would love to know if you have any advice for the everyday person. I mean, we kind of talked about this a little bit on the Giving Tuesday panel, but I feel like this is such an important message. What advice do you have for the everyday person in starting to get involved with organizations, but might not be sure where to start?
So yeah, I would definitely start with finding a cause that you're passionate about helping, right? That's the first step. And then after that, you need to spread awareness about that. And so that way you're able to get more involved in your community. And so for me, taking that first step was crucial. It didn't matter that the solution seemed miles away. I mean, Nest for Us looks to tackle issues from homelessness to food waste. And those are really big issues that can't just be tackled in one day. It takes time and it takes patience and hard work. And so just starting off by initiating awareness about that issue can spark change all by itself. And also using social media and technology, especially in this day and age, to spread awareness on that cause and to educate people about your mission, to get volunteers, to get people involved, to get what you're doing out in the community. I think that's very, very important. And us Gen Zers, we use technology and digital education more than any other generation, which really gives us better access to like news and helps us stay updated on current events. And so this way we're able to use our voices to uplift those who need it the most, both on and off social media and technology. And remember, even the smallest action can make a difference in someone's life. And so according to me, everyone has the power to make a difference. And really, Gen Z has made history as the most diverse and driven generation and is known for believing more in actions than words. And we see that time and time again. You see just this panel itself, we're seeing proof of how just having an idea and then acting upon it can spark so much positive, meaningful change. And honestly, there's going to always be problems in the world. But by working together as one human family to fix these issues, rather than fighting against our own brothers and sisters, we can really move forward towards a better and kinder future. After all, we are the future of the world, and the pandemic has just given us as the human race, a new chance to make significant amends to what we consider normal. And so I really think that by amplifying Gen Z voices, just like the Conversationalist is doing, love the mission of what the Conversationalist does. I think that society will really be able to prioritize the most pressing issues that is facing humanity today in order to build the best future possible. And we know tomorrow is a very important day, gives us a fresh start. And so this is the perfect time for people to go and make a positive difference in the community because everyone has the power to do so. Yeah.
That was so powerful, Shreya. Thank you so much. Yes, I love that quote. I love what you said about Gen Z being digital natives and not only finding causes that matter to us, but being able to mobilize through social media. I mean, the world is at our fingertips. So thank you for all of that and for sharing those words. It's really a great reminder to remember that we can all make a difference. So Shreya, thank you so much for being back with us this evening.
Thank you, Sophie.
Awesome. We'll talk to you more soon. Bye. Wow, so great to have Shreya back. Her energy is so wonderful, and I can't wait to have her share more about Nest for us in a bit. So next up, our next honoree has done so much at only 17. I mean, if I've learned anything this evening, it is that I should have started my social impact journey at a much younger age, but that's just a side note. Our next honoree is an artist, writer, and activist. She founded the Arts Shine Foundation in order to help make a positive impact on her community and allow teens to glean important life skills through the arts. In 5 years into the future, she'd like to find clarity and inner peace in addition to many more activist accomplishments. Not to mention, she has some great walk-up songs on the screen. Without further ado, we are so excited to welcome Hey Trisha, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Good. It's so great to virtually meet you. Happy to have you at the Conversationalist, and congratulations again on your award. Trisha, it's really amazing how you've been able to channel your creativity into an incredibly impactful organization, the Arts Shine Foundation. What inspired you to start and to merge these important life skills into the arts to help inspire and support young people everywhere?
Sure. First, I would like to say I feel very honored to be here today, to be able to speak among such an incredible and inspiring array of other young change makers and activists. So my journey as an artivist started quite young, actually. I was always obsessed with art, always was doing something artistic, dabbling in all sorts of mediums. And as I entered high school, I started realizing that, art has the power to transform perspectives and lives and really incite positive change in the community. However, I wasn't really finding this community where I was, and I felt kind of isolated with the artivist endeavors I was partaking in. So I decided that I wanted to create a global community myself where I could really perpetuate these conversations among artists and leverage our talents to incite positive change collectively in the community. And that's basically where my idea for the Arts Shine Foundation started. I hadn't really managed a large organization before, so I was just kind of diving into it, and I was so scared at first because I didn't know how I would create my team or manage people I'd never even spoken to before, especially people from so many different countries, because our team spans around 8 countries as of now. So that was really intimidating at first, but I started realizing that this is something that I'm really passionate about. I'm able to bridge the two things that I'm most interested in and two things that I deeply care about, which is arts and community service. And being able to bridge these kind of disparate subjects was just so profound to me. And I think my team members could see my interest in that and how invested I was in that. And they began to follow my lead. And together we've been able to create so much change, and that too so innovatively, just through our work and the messages that we're depicting through what we're creating. You know, we've curated a Black Lives Matter gallery to advocate for racial inclusivity, because it is such an important topic right now, especially in today's world where there's so much polarization, and that message really needs to be spread. And our artwork is basically a vessel for us to do that. We actually launched our feminism art magazine just a week ago, where we were advocating for gender equality and women's rights, and really showing the artistic and broader community that women are capable and that we're powerful, and we can really do whatever we set our minds to. I'm speaking to a female founder right now. We're both female founders, and we've done so many incredible things through what we've created and the communities that we've formed. So I think that's just a short summary of kind of my work and how I got started. But yeah.
Thank you so much, Trisha. I am so excited to check out your magazine. Congrats on the launch. And I love what you said about art being a vessel for change. What an awesome word. And I think you also coined artivist when you started. I love that. And just thank you for using art as a means to bring awareness to so many important issues. I am so excited to continue following your work. Awesome.
Thank you, Sophie.
Thank you, Trisha. So great to meet you, and we'll hear from you more in a bit. Awesome. Talk soon. Oh, wow. That's awesome. I am not an artist by any means, but Trisha's work is incredible. So if you haven't checked it out, please go check it out. All right. So our final social impact honoree for the evening is the founder and CEO of Innova Youth, a global education nonprofit that helps students start their own projects and empower the next generation of young changemakers. They host conferences and workshops on social responsibility, civic engagement, global leadership, and Gen Z culture. As a global change ambassador, he aims to promote peace and prosperity on Earth by working alongside like-minded individuals to make a social impact. His advice for people who haven't found their voices yet is each person's voice is unique and comes at different stages of the journey. Keep doing what you love and find what drives you on the daily. I have also had the honor of sharing the title of 25 Under 25 with this distinguished individual, and we love having him as a part of our TC community. So without further ado, I am so excited to bring Victor Yee to the stage. Hey, Victor.
Hey, Sophie, long time no see. How are you?
Good to see you. I love having you at TC, and congratulations again. You are such an inspiration. Again, always share with you. I think it's so impressive how you have given students a platform to create and make change through Innova Youth. How do you think social impact efforts that you're working on at Innova Youth could lead to the future of Gen Z and bringing people together to create a collective social impact?
Sure thing. Yeah, I'd love to first start by thanking Sophie and your team at the Conversationalist for really bringing people together from all different backgrounds, cultures, upbringings to really explain the importance of what social impact means. I can talk a little bit quickly about my story and how it kind of came to fruition of what Innova Youth exists like today. I was back in 15 years old. I was sitting inside a history classroom where I loved reading the news. And at one point in time, I realized that there were so many issues going around the world that were so important and needed to be addressed, but yet we were stuck in the classroom just memorizing and regurgitating information that wasn't really applicable to the real world. So I asked my teacher on how we can connect issues from history in the past to actually learn from those mistakes to actually help those that are most in need. And my teacher told me that because it was not going to be tested, therefore we never needed to learn it, or that there were people already working on change. So we just needed to sit back and just memorize information. So from that time on, I realized that there was such a big need for people to really break that status quo of realizing that, if they're passionate and driven by a particular issue in mind, that they can actually spark not only just a local community change, but then actually amplify it to a domino effect where it starts other people becoming their own journeys of change makers as well. So that's when I started Innova Youth, which is Innovate and Youth put together. And essentially we help students start their own social impact projects. And also, as you mentioned, Sophie, we host conferences around social responsibility, global leadership, and civic engagement as well. And just through that entire journey of realizing that, we first started in the local city of Los Angeles, just where we're telling students, to be involved, whether if they wanted to solve environmental sustainability or mental wellness injustice or anything that they wanted to solve under the sun, that they were able to do so by actually creating those actionable projects, that we realized that it was actually something that was resonating with people from all cultures and places around the world, to a point in which by the time I was senior year, it was super lucky and fortunate that we kind of expanded to about 14 different countries around the world and hosting various conferences, from a place in Iran all the way to the UAE, all the way to Singapore. And I just realized that people were all driven and unified by the fact that there were so many things to be solved, but yet school was not perpetuating that idea and culture. And so it was up to young people like myself and yourself to really bring that into mind and help break that idea that young people really can make a change in this world.
Victor, you're so awesome. It's so great hearing from you. I've loved learning about your journey in the short time I've known you, and just can't wait to keep watching Innova Youth grow to new heights. So congratulations, and so great to have you here.
Thank you so much, Sophie. See you soon.
Awesome. So actually, Victor, you're going to stay here, and we're going to get all of your fellow honorees back on stage. But before I do, thank you to everyone who's here in the live chat. We see so many awesome faces cheering you on, Victor, and would just love to see anyone else pop into the chat and let us know what you're thinking. How does social impact resonate in your life? We would love to hear your perspectives. So without further ado, I'm going to bring all of our honorees back to the stage to talk a little bit more about social impact. So here we go. Hi, everyone. So great to see you again. Long time no see. And thank you so much again for being here. How's everyone doing and feeling right now?
Inspired.
Yes.
It's just so amazing. Just hearing from everyone, just learning so much tonight.
Amen to that. I feel nothing short of inspired. That was the perfect word for it. And I'm excited to pick all of your brains a little bit more to see how we can just keep making a collective social impact together as a generation. Social impact is something that I am personally so passionate about, and seeing all of your passion projects and initiatives come to life has just been instrumental for me in my journey in the social impact space. So thank you so much again for being here. And I wanted to start with an interesting question on my mind, and anyone feel free to hop in or pop into the private chat with who wants to go first. But oftentimes when we think about social impact, I think a lot of people in Generation Z get pushback in saying that we're only talking the talk. You know, we're saying that we're making a difference, but we're not out there on the ground in the trenches making a difference. And I would beg to differ that every single one of you and everyone in our generation is making that profound impact. And I would love to know, what are your thoughts on how we can take tangible steps to create social change, maybe beyond, performative activism or just posting on social media? What are some things that we can do to step up and create that impact?
Yeah.
Yeah, Hannah, do you want to hop in first?
Sure. So I think that our generation is truly the most powerful, the most inspiring generation ever. And I think that this is so true from this panel and from all of the other incredible groups that have taken place over the last couple weeks in the Conversationalist. And I think that just our generation's creating so much change, and that's what inspires me to be an activist. It's groups of young people, and it's seeing the incredible change that young people have been able to make. And yeah, so many people have kind of coined this term of slacktivism, which is basically activism over social media. I am a huge believer in social media. I think that it is the most powerful tool that we can use to make a difference. And all of us are creating change using social media, because with the click of a button, we can reach our message to someone that lives in our city, our province in Canada, our state, our another continent. And that's just such a cool thing. And I think that that's such a powerful thing that we really do need to take the less for granted. And I think that's such an incredible thing. And also, I mean, something that I talked about this with Sam the other day, and I have this formula that I use to make a difference, and I talk about it in my speeches, in my book, and it's issue plus gift equals change. So you find your issue, that's like your cause, that thing that you're passionate about, and then your gift, that's your talent. It's really anything that you can use to make a difference. And then you map those two things together. And so say if you're really good at art and you're passionate about the environment, you can do an art show where you're raising money for a specific organization, and you're also doing like an art gallery about nature and all that kind of stuff. And so I just think that there are so many ways that people can make a difference. The hardest thing is just starting. But the good thing is that you clearly have so many people to be inspired by and to look as almost a pathway, but creating your own path as well. But you clearly have so many people that you can look to as role models. And these people today are kind of proof of that.
Amen to that. Issue plus gift equals change. Everyone write that down. Hannah, that was brilliant. Shreya, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I would definitely say to harness the power of community. I feel like community is such a strong factor when it comes to social impact. Just because when you have people in your community come together with one common goal in mind to help someone in need and to take action against these various social issues that tend to keep rising in our world, that the power of people really does make a change. And we often underestimate the power of people, especially the power of youth. And I think really bringing that to the front, front burner, I would say, to bring how Gen Z especially can not only inspire other Gen Zers to get involved, but inspire those from all different generations to bind together. Because, like I said earlier, we're all one human race. If we come together and we listen to each other, because of course, past generations have experienced things. And so we have to learn from those experiences, but then also looking at to see how we can come up with innovative solutions. And so combining those two and combining the power of community to bind together and fight for these causes that we're passionate about, like Hannah was saying, this passion, bringing in that interest of, oh, I want to help someone in need. Oh, I want to do something in order to spark change. I think that do something is very important. And I think that's the best way to make a positive social impact in the world.
Beautiful. And no pun intended when Shreya said spark change. Ramaya, what are your thoughts?
I actually completely disagree with the whole saying that the youth and Gen Z is just talking the talk and that we aren't doing anything. And I think that can specifically be seen within the voter turnout and the ability we had to gather people for Black Lives Matter protests, where the women's protest this summer. And so I think that just goes to show how powerful we are at organizing one, but more importantly, facing the issue at hand and making immediate change. And I think Shreya kind of also touched on what I was going to say as well about us coming together. But I think one of the most powerful tools in activism is education. And I think once you've educated and normalized the idea of activism within youth, how powerful that can be once it becomes something that we're all interested in. And I think that it's lacks being normalized within our society today, because oftentimes youth are told to settle down and be quiet, or they're often told, stay down, and, when that time comes for you, then you'll speak up. But when we normalize youth stepping up to the plate and taking the change and taking the charge, imagine the amount of impact that we'll actually be able to make in the world. And I think that is just such an amazing and powerful thing that we can't wait for.
Mic drop. I don't even want to respond. That was so awesome. Fatimata, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely agree with what everyone said so far. And I think for me as an individual, in terms of organizing, my organizing began before I started using, the social media space. And I think for many organizers and activists out there, we use social media as a resource and as a stepping stone, not as our only form of activism or organizing, because, me reposting something is not going to impact the community that I'm trying to reach. And I think something that, as Gen Z, we've been trying to heavily emphasize is that, it's about trying to reach people who aren't necessarily educated about some of the issues in my community, because my community looks different than someone else's community. And I'm trying to impact my community in a different way based on their needs. So I use social media as a stepping stone, not necessarily as my only means of activism or organizing. And that's why I always encourage people to, try and figure out who are the leaders in your community and what work are they currently doing right now, and how you can contribute to that work. How can you uplift that work that's currently going on in these communities, and how can you use social media as a way to expose their work, spread awareness about their work. And yeah, that's kind of how I view it.
Love it. And I love how you said social media is really a stepping stone. I always think of social media as a bridge, as a connector, right? Like how awesome that we can create community and come together, but hopefully we take that change offline and we can keep it going in our own communities. So Fatimata, thank you so much. Trisha, what are your thoughts?
I would definitely like to agree with the sentiments of everyone who has spoken before me. I think that, the best way to conduct activism is through doing three things, and that is collaborating, being persistent, and being selfless. So I think that in collaborating, it's very important for us to listen to each other. Often, the ideas of Gen Z get overlooked. We're in a day and age where there's a lot of ageism, racism, and sexism. And to overcome those things is when we can actually come together and unite to make a difference. I think the other two main aspects of doing activism successfully is being selfless and being perseverant, because we get a lot of pushback for fighting for what's right and for fighting for equality and being the voice for marginalized communities who can't really share their opinions on their rights. And so I think it is very important to persevere against the backlash that we receive and be selfless in the endeavors that we pursue. Because if we are not doing this for us, if we're doing this for the greater good of people, and we recognize that as individuals, I really don't think there is any force on earth that can stop us from reaching equality and advocating for people who need us to advocate for them. So I think that with those three traits, and by just listening to each other and having conversations like we're having right now, we are so powerful. Gen Z can come together in such profound ways and make change without really anything coming in our path, because we're so determined and selfless, and we're not doing this for our own benefit. We're doing this for other communities because we so deeply care about seeing people benefiting and being in a great state, So that's what I think.
Another mic drop. I think that's what's so special about the social impact space and what ties all of us together on this screen. It's that innate desire to help others before ourselves. And that is so beautiful. And it's just all the more reason as to why we really wanted to recognize each of you for your work. So thank you for being leaders in this space. And I want to ask another question that piggybacks off of this phrase that Shreya coined. We are one human family. And obviously our mission at TC is to unify the world, right? Bring people together to have conversations and create that collective change. Oftentimes, there can be stumbling blocks along the way, especially nowadays with cancel culture and political polarization that have drawn us farther apart. So it's harder to come together and unify and have those conversations with people who disagree with us. So I would love to know, what advice do you have for any young person out there who's listening to help navigate difficult conversations and break open our echo chambers and utilize their voices for good so that we can unify and come together? Sam, do you want to, I think we lost Sam for a moment. Victor, do you want to hop in?
Yeah, of course. I think the Conversationalist is the best example of what is actually happening when it comes to bridging conversations together. Well, the first thing really to understand is that the reason why there may be discrepancies or disagreements within a particular conversation is because of one's particular experiences of them growing up, or their education, or just firsthand moments in time which have led them to believe in a particular idea. And the best thing to note is that we have to hear all of that backstory to understand a little bit more of how they got to that end conclusion, so we can best explain about how we can best navigate those harder conversations that may be a little bit more controversial or would be a little bit harder to navigate. But I think that at the end of the day, when we get to hear those ideas and backgrounds and cultural norms, then that helps us understand a little bit better, not necessarily needing to agree 100% on all sides, but to then understand from a different point of view and perspective that indeed it works for someone in their shoes, and that we can further on perpetuate that understanding when we talk to other people as well, so that we are a little bit more respected of other people and how they've grown up.
And elevating empathy, that is the key. Fatimata, it's like what we were talking about, right? Like the ability to bring yourself closer to someone else's story can elevate our empathy that can help us see through those differences. So Victor, that was awesome. Jasmine, what are your thoughts?
So first I'd like to say is for those who want to, find their voices, I would say just to get educated, on issues that are important to you, so you can help build your foundation. Find out both the pros and the cons of the issues, and it'll help in speaking to others. Then you would get engaged. Engagement can be as simple as, writing a letter with reasons why you would like to change, joining a club, holding a rally, or maybe even like starting a blog like Hannah did, then you should always look for opportunities to grow your platform and amplify your voice. Sometimes, those opportunities can be scary because there might be bigger audiences that you're not used to. But you have to believe in yourself and your cause. I guarantee you that there are many others out there who support you but have yet to find their own voice. You never know, by someone seeing you stand up, and it might give someone else the courage to find their own voice too, to do that good.
I love that. I mean, that's the first step, right? Is even just discovering your own voice. So Jasmine, those words were so powerful. Thank you. Ramaya, do you want to hop in?
Yeah, of course. Jasmine also kind of highlighted what I was going to speak as well, but I think education, like I said, is one of the most powerful tools, which is something that W.E.B. Du Bois kind of touches on as well. And I think that some of our most powerful leaders have gotten a lot of their information from books. So we can look at the politics books or the Souls of the Young Black book or a plethora of other amazing authors and books that have been published. And I think for people who are really trying to find ways to find their voice, to kind of find what's their itch, or to figure out what's their power, I think the most inspiration can come from books and really surrounding yourself by people who can push you and help push you to be your best and better self. And I kind of live by this motto of good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good becomes your better and your better becomes your best. And when you never lose sight of that, then there's only so much more you can do in this world.
Another incredible quote, Ramaya. Thank you so much. Good, better, best. That's going to stick with me. Hannah, what are your thoughts?
I would definitely just say I would challenge you to have conversations with people that disagree with you. I think that is so important, especially because I've realized that, even though I'm Canadian, I've learned that, Canada, America, the world is built by people with every ideology. And I think that that's so interesting. And remember to use your voice, shine the light on other people's. And just as a quick final note, thought, whatever, follow all of the people that are on this list. We all use social media a lot to make a difference. Sam's Wi-Fi is working, so I would like to give the floor to him to share his thoughts. Yeah.
Hannah, that was awesome. Sam, if you can hear us, would love any final thoughts on how we can come together to unify and overcome our division. We'll give him a second to buffer. In the meantime, Fatimata, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I was just going to quickly add, like everyone else, I think ideas are powerful. And I think for anyone who's trying to find their voice or, navigate these different spaces, don't shy away from your inner voice or idea, because ideas are what live on and what motivate people to continue to work. It's very easy for people to want to be the center or the forefront of a movement or leader, but I think ideas are what create these movements and help to build community for the future.
Yes, listen to your inner voice. That's where it all starts. That's awesome. Shreya, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I just wanted to address real quick about breaking open your echo chamber, especially now when it's a really polarized world right now, and people tend to have really strong beliefs about certain issues or specific people, myself included. And this really causes narrow-mindedness, which blocks the way for innovation and diversity when it comes to finding solutions or middle ground. So I would definitely say the best way to approach difficult conversations would be simply to listen to what the other person has to say and not immediately retaliate against their views. And really, I would just say that's the simplest thing, is listening to someone. I think listening just lets you calm down and hear what the other person has to say. And who knows, you might even learn something new by listening to someone. And so I think moving forward as a society, as a world, if we listen to people, especially if we listen to youth, I think we could really set the world in the right direction.
That's awesome, Shreya. Thank you so much. And before we wrap up this evening, we have a very special guest who just joined us, and I'm very excited to welcome him to the stage. We shared some words about him earlier, as we are so inspired by his profound social impact and how he is making the world a better place. And I would be so honored to bring our featured celebrity honoree, Neve Shulman, to the stage. Hey, Neve. How are you?
What's up? Sorry, I couldn't get on sooner. I had stuff going, put the kids to bed and clean up the kitchen and all that regular guy stuff.
For sure. No, we were joking that because you are such an instigator of social change, you were probably out saving the world, and we're just so happy you could join us. But while you're here, Neve, would love to hear any thoughts. We're talking right now about how Generation Z is really at the forefront for social change. Can you share a little bit about your work in the social impact space and any words of advice that you have for Gen Z?
Sure. It's funny, my wife and I, just like I think probably everybody with a conscience and a decent moral compass, have been struggling lately, kind of trying to figure out what should we do or what can we be doing to hopefully move the needle towards compassion and understanding and acceptance and forgiveness and unity. But it feels super overwhelming. And sometimes you just don't know where to start, or if there's even anywhere to start. So we've been talking about it. Laura kind of thought if there was anything she could do right now, it was to, she just made like an Instagram story about children's books that she's heard of, or people have recommended to her that address inequality and racism and otherness and all that, topics of that nature. So just like start reading books like that to your kids to familiarize them with that conversation. I know for me and my wife in the past, like as issues that affect us have become sort of more apparent in our lives, we've just sort of said, okay, this is something that affects me, that I have a feeling about, that I need to know more about, that I feel like people should also know more about. And we've just sort of made videos, and a number of them have done really well, in terms of reaching people and starting conversations. So I think, unless you are dedicating your life to being a social activist, which some people obviously are, for everybody else, just when something means something to you, and when you feel like this doesn't sit right, or I can't explain this, or I want to be able to explain this better, like those are the issues that probably a lot of other people are similarly struggling with. And that's a good place to start.
That's awesome advice. It all starts with those conversations we have with ourselves and aligning our passions. So Neve, thank you for sharing that. And right before you hopped on, we were just talking about our mission at the Conversationalist, which is to unify the world. We really believe in amplifying voices and breaking open our echo chambers. Do you have any thoughts about now in 2021, how we can better unify and come together across division?
You're talking about how we can better unite and sort of break down barriers between people, not specifically like around any one issue, but just in general.
Yeah, not just politics, but how we can come together as a humanity.
Well, okay. I mean, on one hand, it's very discouraging, right? Because there have been huge, overwhelming global events that one might think would be the tipping point that would unite people and get us all to agree, like, okay, we need to fix this, there's a problem here. And yet somehow people continue to find ways to explain it away or deny it, or, whether it's gun reform or, climate change. I mean, someone's always going to find a way to tell you that you're wrong about it, or that you don't understand it, or that it's a different issue than it is. So it's confusing. And I think that's sort of the sense that a lot of us are getting, is that we I think that's actually probably the answer, right? Is it starts with this idea that when you feel like you're right, you say, we all know, because you assume that everyone who doesn't agree with you is wrong. And even though in some cases they are, figuring out how to reconsider even just your language of this is the right thing, which means that what other people are doing is the wrong thing, because that already starts you off at a place where you're going to probably make them feel badly, or they're going to feel attacked or insulted. So I think, as corny as it sounds, even just rethinking the way we think about it, and then certainly the language that we use when we start that conversation, is important. Even though it blows my mind that people feel the other way about things than I feel, and I just can't understand how they could possibly think that. I've got to start figuring it out, because if I don't and they don't, then we're just going to continue not agreeing and being angry with each other and confused. So I don't have an answer, but I think starting with just a sensitivity to the fact that the other people feel the same way we feel is a good place to start.
It's awesome. And maybe even remembering that at the end of the day, we're all working towards a better future, and maybe we have different ways of going about it. And I think sometimes recognizing our collective humanity, like you said, is...
It's tricky though, because a lot of people seem to be working backwards. And even the language, like specifically of our soon-to-be ex-president, is like, it's make America great again. It's like, let's go back to the way things were, which is crazy, because that's just impossible. You can't go back. Well, I guess you could, but we've seen it wouldn't be great. So it's tricky. And right now is super sensitive time, and I'm sure other generations said this, but hard to imagine a more important moment in the history of the world than right now. So whatever you guys are doing, keep doing it, please, because we need to figure this shit out.
Amen to that. Thank you so much for being here and for celebrating all of these young people's incredible work in the social impact space, and for letting us honor you for yours. We're so happy to have you.
Good work, guys.
Awesome. And before you head out, we'll take a quick screenshot so everyone can have a little photo with you. Everyone smile. 1, 2, 3. Neve, thank you so much. And for all of our Gen Zers, thank you for being here. We're so glad we were able to honor you. Let's keep fighting the good fight. Starting with inauguration tomorrow, let's really hold our new administration accountable to unify our country and further our world. So thank you all so much. Again, I'm Sophie from The Conversationalist, and we will see you all soon. Awesome. Bye, everyone. Have a great night.